Hey, so I came on here today because I really wanted to talk. I really wanted to talk about this topic. I wanted to talk about um, this topic briefly because um, I see a lot of people that have like coaching programs and they teach classes. My hair. I promise I'm gonna do my hair today, y'all. Like I'm gonna do it. It's just wash and go. All right, but it's I think a lot of challenges that I have had most recently, well not most recently, the the thing that came up for me in wanting to teach or coach. One, innately, I am a great teacher. It's in my blood. My mother was a teacher. My grandmother, she was a nurse, but she taught nursing, and um, so generationally, like it's just in me to teach or want to teach or want to help people obtain knowledge, right? And so um, there is a saying that was said. It's from a play. I think it's called Man and Superman. It's from like the early 1900s. But I'm pretty sure you've heard the saying before when they say, those who can't do, teach, right? And so um, I recently just read an article about it, and I just saw a post about it this morning. Not about that saying per se, but the post said, I'm gonna read it. Oh shoot, where's the post? Um, da, 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 da. All right. The post says, if you don't do it, don't teach it, even if you think you know it, right? And so it's so funny because I battle with the things that I know and the things that I want to teach and the things that I do, right? And so the three things are the things that I know, which is I know hair, I know the hair industry, I know I know what women want, I know what cosmetologists need, I know what salon owners are struggling with. Um, and then it is like the capacity to teach. I know that I can teach. I know that I have consulted with stylists before, salon owners. I have consulted with salon owners to increase productivity in their salons. Um, I and so the thing boils down to um, no, what I say, no, teach, and do. The problem came in because I wasn't doing what I was teaching anymore. And I think that's what has been I've kind of been wrestling with for the longest time was um I've been wrestling with imposter syndrome and wrestling with if this is an area that I should be teaching. One, because I have been successful, I feel like I should teach. But two, when you fail at things, you don't think that you can teach it. And so that's kind of where I was battling with what I know, what I do, and what I teach, right? And so I think when you are wrestling with imposter syndrome and you know a lot of things and have done a lot of things, it pushes you. Imposter syndrome sets in because you feel like because you aren't currently doing it, then you're not able to teach it. And so, um, I'm not like this is not. This is really when I started this, it was no plan behind it. But over the past couple days, I just been thinking about. Um, I've been thinking about how I want to show up in this space as authentic as possible, and so people who have been in my situation or might enter into this situation, they can better understand how to maneuver through it. And so, I'm sorry, I know my allergies acting crazy. And so I'm thinking that when when you are in a space, or a new, you're entering into new territory. So basically, let's just say you are a salon owner and you want to become an instructor. You have experience. You have experience behind the chair, so you have experience of being the client. You have had experience being a stylist. You have had experience being a salon owner. You have the experience. You know situational issues that might arise on all levels. So you know what the client wants. You know what you have to deal with when you're dealing with other stylists. You know what the things you have to maneuver around as a salon owner. You know how to do your books and payroll now. You know whether or not you know how to hire. You know, like these are things that you know now. And so I think it's a very thin line in now knowing and then it and now teaching. So now that you want, so let's just say now that you want to teach, you aren't teaching from a perspective of maybe like a college professor. Because sometimes, like college professors, they have all the bookwork knowledge that might be needed, right? And it's easy to regurgitate. It's easy for me to come in front of a classroom and tell you to do something that I have never done, I have never experienced, and I can just regurgitate the stuff that, or I know how to find the answers. So I do believe that a teacher should know how to find the answers, but it's very, very different when you teaching from experience than when you are teaching from knowledge, right? And so I think that's what we need to really get on. Like, are we teaching from experience, or are we teaching from knowledge? Are we teaching from like a place of wisdom? Because to me, a place of wisdom is applied knowledge. Basically, it is things that I've found out, like this is what happens, and then I use the knowledge that I have on top of my experience, and then I do the work the proper way. And now I can show you how to do the work the proper way, because not only do I have knowledge, I have applied knowledge. And so I think that's the greatest part, when if you are someone who wants to enter into coaching, if you are someone who wants to enter into like teaching or instruction, moving into a different realm. I think the older that we get, for me, I knew when I walked into doing hair that I did not want to be spinning the chair after. Come on. I knew after I knew when I first entered into the hair salon, right? So I started doing hair in 2008, right? And I started doing hair. No, I started doing hair in 2005. I opened my first salon in 2008. But I knew when I walked in that salon in 2005 that I did not want to be spinning a chair at 40 and 45. Now, 45 was like my absolute cutoff. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be still doing this at 45 years old. I really said 40 at first, but then when I got into it and I started to love the atmosphere, I started to fall in love with in becoming a hairstylist, you can enter into very temporal relationships, right? And they can be effective. And so, because not only are we styling hair, we are their sister, we're their friend, we're their cosmetologist, we're their therapist, We are their mother. Sometimes we are their pastor. Like we are their prophet. Like we become so many things when we stand behind the chair. We are their teacher because we're teaching them how to maintain their styles. We're teaching them how to care for their hair at home. It's so many things, like therapists. We are coaches. Like we're just so many things. And so I'm saying it to say, like, when I entered into the world, into the beauty industry, I'm coming from a call center. I've done retail, and I've done multiple call centers. I've done sales, and I've done things like that. So I didn't really come from a beauty background. The only other jobs that I've had were like in fashion, and so I was like managing stores at like 17 years old. I was managing stores, and things like that. And so I'm coming from I have some type of applied knowledge when I come into the cosmetology field. And I was doing hair in my house since I was like in the 6th grade. So I was very young when I first started doing hair. And so entering into this space, I knew for a fact that I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life, but I really didn't know how I wanted to retire. I didn't I didn't have it. And while I came into a salon, I entered into a salon that she was probably that age when I came in, or around that age, like late 30s, early 40s. Um, she didn't have the capacity to coach. She didn't have the capacity to teach. She was a hairstylist. And now she is actually like running a hair school. Um, and I think it's great for her to be able to transition and still stay in the industry. And so that's pretty much like what I want people to do. Now for me, I feel like I left and came back. And so in the meantime of what you're seeing now, which is me documenting my journey, entering back into a space that I fell in love with, that is kind of like a relationship. Like I felt like I fell in love. I got brokenhearted. I had a lot of failed. I'm tired of these things. I had a lot of failed business endeavors in the middle. I had a lot of success. I've reached heights. I was in national publications like Essence Magazine, hair magazines. I've done New York Fashion Weeks. I have flown all over the United States to do hair. And so I have a lot of accolades in the hair industry, that is prior to social media too. And so I think for me, the hard part was I probably would have been further along had I used social media as a marketing tool as opposed to a social space. And so when I got introduced to social media, I think I really didn't even really. I got an Instagram page when Instagram came about. I really didn't understand the point because of my personality. And I'm not, I don't wouldn't even say I'm an introvert, extrovert type of person. I think it was more so like the type of person that gets on these things and in these spaces, like as a person, like I'm not a showy off type of person, right? And so I want to wrap this up because I want to keep these under like 15 minutes, but or around 15 minutes. And so I'm saying all of this to say, get out of your imposter syndrome, right? I want you to do what you are called to do. And if you are called into this industry that might rip you to shreds, that might press on your self-esteem, that might cause depression, that might cause and it's also a thing of like reaching very high heights in something and then trying to like crawl back to the heights that you've received, that you have had the success in before. And so that's not just even in the beauty industry, but I think it spills over into like how I parent. Like I have felt like I was a great mother when this happened, or when I had this, or when I was doing this for my children. Um, and so now I'm trying to do the same thing for younger children, or I want to reach certain heights because I want my children to experience what want my younger children to experience what my older children did, but at a higher level or as a better mother. And so I think that's what kind of where I am too with entering back into the beauty space, is wanting to succeed past old succession. And so um for me, that's the goal. So if I tell you, like, I've probably done, like, let's just say max I made in a year was like 360, right? I want to shoot for the million. I want to shoot for, I think we calculated yesterday, it ended up being like 2.7 like a year. Like I want to see how I can do 2.7 a year. That's a major goal that I'm setting out for. And so I'm gonna bring y'all on I'm gonna bring y'all along for the ride, because I just wanted to talk about that. But basically, like, just to wrap up and put a bow on everything that we talked about today. Like, yes, there's a difference from what you know, what you do, and what you teach, right? I want you to make sure that, one, when you start teaching, that you have the capacity to teach, you have the know-how to teach, you know how to coach and push and promote people, you know how to lead people from A to B to C, because everybody don't need to lead you from A to Z. Some people just can get you from A to G, and know that that's my capacity. Like, so if I know I can color and I do it very well, and I know it, like I know it like no other. You still have to practice the skill of teaching. And so, and teaching and coaching are two different things as well. And I think we kind of lumped them in together, because to me, coaching is more so like pulling something out of somebody, as opposed to like teaching is a lot of just instilling stuff in the person. So as a coach, you should be able to do both. But as a teacher, you're showing people how to obtain knowledge. You're giving them information. In a coach, you're extracting with some of the qualities that are already in the person, some innate qualities and skills and talents that the person already has. You're extracting those things out and making it better. And so I think and I believe that I had the capability of doing both. But I do want you to understand where you are in the whole situation. So if you want to enter into teaching and coaching, like, make sure you had the capabilities, and make sure you had the capacity to do those things. And so that's it. That's all I got for you today.